I think there are lessons to be learned from how anyone else is dealing with this as well, not just China. But interestingly, we are starting as a company to see some signs, some very initial signs of some positivity coming out of China. As you know, China had SARS, it was the epicenter of SARS back in 2002. And a number of the other Southeast Asian countries were impacted by this too. And if you look back, what you realize is that as this happened in December and January of this year, the response from these countries to tackling the problem was at a much more advanced level than some of the other countries. So we've clearly seen that countries like South Korea, China, Japan responded very, very quickly to these and were able to contain the outbreak in fashion, I guess, than other countries. So we've obviously seen that they have managed to implement their learnings from SARS. Now, when you look at China or you look at South Korea today, where we are starting to see some signs of positivity, China, of course, is at a very different stage of the COVID cycle as compared to India, obviously, with India expected to peak sometime in late June or early July from what we're seeing. But in China today, I can tell you that the vast majority of hotels have reopened. At one point in time, Marriott had about 90 plus hotels that were closed. That number is down to single digits. China went through a phase where occupancies, very much like what they are here now, were in single digits for the most part. Hotels were really supporting government initiatives, housing medical workers and other staff dealing with the pandemic. And today, it's good to see that in the month of May, it's possible that Marriott hotels in China will report occupancies somewhere between 35 and 40% as an aggregated portfolio.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm trying to say here is, yes, we're on survival mode. Yes, we are really trying to keep our necks above the water here. But at the end of the day, there is light at the end of the tunnel. What has been extremely interesting to see, like some of the other panelists pointed out before, is that once there is a sense that the impact of COVID-19 is beginning to ebb, and China, like India will in the very near term, has turned to its domestic market, we are starting to see that social distancing is quickly being put to the back burner when people feel they're back in a safer environment. So to the point that Dr. Suri was making about restaurants and having people, in an aircraft and comparing that to the restaurants some time ago, we are starting to see that in China, over the holiday period that was there recently, the restaurants were pretty full. Hotels were running very high occupancies in some of the resort locations. So they have a mechanism in place to ensure that customers are in a safe environment. They have a mechanism in place to handle any sort of outbreak, which is giving confidence to the end user, which gives confidence to the associates to be able to take care of those customers. And then really we are starting to see some signs of positivity come out of there. The other thing I want to point out here, Veer, is we're starting to see the same in South Korea. Mm-hmm. And what is really interesting is I was talking to my counterpart who runs Australia and the Pacific, and there is talk there, very interestingly, of creating an Australia-New Zealand travel bubble, because both of these countries have been able to largely contain the virus. What they're saying is, let's allow travel between the two countries, but let's kind of bubble it up so no one from outside can get in. So what I guess what I'm trying to say here is, what is very interesting is you're seeing a bilateral agreement there between two countries where they're saying, let's travel from one to the other and open that space up. And chances are you're going to see that happen in other parts of the world and also in Asia, right? Everyone today is looking to attract the Chinese traveler to most destinations.
Yeah.
China is able to say that we've contained this. Chances are that there will be other countries focused heavily on tourism that sign up for these agreements with China and you might start to see an influx of Chinese tourists into these destinations. It could be Vietnam, it could be Thailand, it could be Sri Lanka. So I think looking forward, there are certainly some signs of positivity. We continue to have a great deal of belief in the long-term viability of the travel industry. Yeah. We all need to travel. And I think while we love technology, we are in a people industry. And I think when you look at it, when you look around, there are already some signs starting to emerge that there may be light at the end of this tunnel. Now, we have to get there to that stage. India is still, like I said, in different cycle, in different stage of the cycle. But I do see there are some green shoots on the horizon that we should be looking to and looking to learn from. And there is no reason for it not. At the end of the day, we believe that looking forward, I think the first sense we get is that everyone's going to pivot towards our domestic traveler. We sit on this huge base of business, and I think all of us on this panel can agree that a large proportion of our business comes from the domestic traveler. Yeah. The initial travel that we see on the horizon is basically folks that can get into a car and drive to a particular location. So drive to locations are going to be the first form that people are going to access, because there's some comfort in getting into your own vehicle and getting from point A to point B. So that's where staycations come in. And as borders start to open up, as these little bilateral agreements happen between our own states, you're probably going to see people get into a car and drive from Delhi to Jaipur, or from Mumbai to Goa. So you're going to see stuff like that happen. Next, you're going to see essential business travel come through, right? And I think that's going to be the next phase. But it's critical here that the fear psychosis starts to end. I think, as Vikram correctly pointed out, it is important that we look at statistics and data, and really ensure that we get out there and start getting going again. There is enough and more data to prove that the risk involved to a large section of society is not as significant as it is as people we want to think about. So there certainly is. It's about confidence, and I think as an industry, it is important for us to do a few things here. One, everyone's talked about the focus on health and sanitation, and I think the industry overwhelmingly is coming out and saying we're going to do a lot in that space. Two, we've got to make sure that we remove any impediments to travel that the customer may have today. So we've got to be more flexible with our contracts, with our bookings. We've got to remove that impediment in the eyes of the customer. If the customer is willing to get on a plane today and fly to one of our hotels, I think it's important to take away all the contractual stuff that goes with it. Because in the very near term, we're very confident it's going to be a lot of last minute pickup in a very short booking window, and we've got to gear up to deal with it. And I think number three, we've absolutely got to make sure that everybody understands that as an industry, we are going to do everything possible to adhere with the new normal. Now, that might mean right-sizing the business, repurposing the business. That might mean contactless experiences, a lot of AV. I was with a group of 100 folks today from the travel industry who talked to me and said, Neeraj, we'd like to get virtual site inspections done because we can't travel to your hotel, right? So we've got to gear up on that front for sure. But I think if we get these three things lined up, there is certainly a future that we should be looking forward to with optimism, in some sense and in some degree. I think from a customer behavior standpoint and our delivery standpoint, we're quick to forget, and as things get better, people will sort of gravitate towards what they like to do, right? So I think broadly, I agree that we'll sort of move back to where we were the moment there is a cure or a vaccine that comes out for this. Having said that, some elements will stay. We saw that with 9/11. We saw that with what happened with the Mumbai attack. Some elements will sort of infuse themselves into our day-to-day operation and customer expectations. What I do believe will change significantly is the approach to hoteliering from here on. I do think that there will be a significant change in our supply chains. I do believe there'll be change to how hotels are designed. I think Nakul alluded to that right at the beginning of this. And I do believe that there'll be several aspects on how operators go about approaching the business from a cost standpoint and a restructuring standpoint that will continue to play out into the future, into a much longer term window. I'll say in short that if we don't learn from this, it's a wasted opportunity at the end of the day. I think the thing from this is we've got to make sure that we emerge leaner and wiser from the wear of this. And I think that's where I would say, as hoteliers, this is a fantastic opportunity in many ways for us to learn and hit the reset button.